Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar of the Family Series for summer 2026. My name is Samantha Cockrell, and I'm the Director of New Student and Family Programs, and I'm joined this evening by your Parent and Family Programs Coordinator, Isabel Morris. We will be your hosts for tonight's Family Series webinar. Before we begin, an overview of this evening's webinar, we want to first thank everyone who's made the time to join us this evening or for tuning into this recording at a later time. We hope that the information covered here is useful for you and your student as you transition to the start of the fall semester, which, by the way, is in just a little over a month. Tonight, what you can expect. The Family Series are webinars through Zoom where attendees are not able to turn on their camera or microphone unless you are one of our presenters. You can instead interact with the session host or presenters by utilizing the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen or by asking questions using the chat box. This evening, you will hear from a variety of campus partners representing what we commonly refer to as the Big Four: the One-Stop Service Center, Parking, Residence Life and Housing, and Dining. These offices will have about 10 to 15 minutes to provide a high-level overview and reminders about their area, leaving some time at the end for you to ask any questions you may have. Some of this information may be a refresher if you joined us for an orientation session this summer, and some of this may be brand new if you weren't able to attend an orientation with your student. Presenters can respond to your questions live on camera, or they can type a response back. To get us started tonight, I would like to introduce our first presenter, McKenna, who's our Interim Director of Housing and Residence Life. McKenna?
Thank you, Sam, and just doing a sound check. Hopefully everyone can hear me. We will get a thumbs up, sweet. So we'll jump right in here. I'm going to share my screen with everybody. Actually, it looks like I have disabled share, so if I can get assistance on that one super fast.
Give me 1 second while I play with these settings.
Perfect. And while we're adjusting some of those, I will introduce myself as well. So my name is McKenna Cato. I am, as Sam said, the Interim Director for Housing and Residence Life. My role right now is to provide leadership, guidance, and safety and security for your students and for my staff. I do oversee a team of about 60, including our RAs. So it is a big team. It's a great responsibility and quite the honor to do so every day. I really enjoy what I do or I wouldn't be here. So we look forward to welcoming you all and your students to campus here in just a couple of weeks. I will talk a little bit more about some move-in details as well as a couple of things that I like to talk to families about prior to their students arriving on campus.
McKenna, I'm going to swap you from being a panelist to an attendee, and then I'll move you back over to being a panelist, and we'll see if that fixes this for you.
Okay. It is still saying disabled.
Let's see.
On technicalities, yeah.
Okay, try it now. I think I found the right setting in there.
Perfect. Okay. All right, there we go. I will make it hopefully quick and easy for everybody while giving you the necessary information. For my particular side of the house with questions, I ask that you please do not ask individualized personal student detail questions in the Q&A and instead email us at housing@uttyler.edu. We will be happy to answer those really individualized questions so that we can look at your student files as well. If you have general questions about the presentation, about move-in, or about any of the details I am going to share, please feel free to ask those. I will answer some live and type some as other presenters are going on. Awesome. So again, a couple of pieces of information that I like to give to families as they are preparing to transition their students to campus and supporting them in doing so. A lot of the common adjustment challenges we see is definitely homesickness and missing some of those familiar routines. A big one we often see within the first 2 weeks is roommate conflict. I'll talk a little bit about that here in a moment and how you can support your student through that. We also see some students struggling to make friends and finding their community. We are here to help them do so. We can't force them out of their rooms, but we certainly encourage it, and we hope that you encourage it as well. And then learning to balance academics, responsibilities, and personal freedom. We have a lot of students who have done dual credit, who have been to college in some capacity before, but living on campus is definitely a different experience, especially if they've never been away from home. So some healthy ways that families can provide support. One thing that I talked to my mom personally before I went to college was sometimes I just need her to listen and let me be upset versus trying to help me solve my problems. She really struggled with that. And even still now, as I've grown up, got married, and have my own adult issues, there are times when her and I sit together and I say, Mom, I really just need you to listen. And I think that is something that has changed our relationship, has helped me grow as a person, and something we strongly encourage with our students as well. So I know it's hard to resist wanting to help them solve those problems, but sometimes they just need someone to listen. And then, of course, encourage them to use those campus resources. A big one that we offer directly in their residence halls is in the form of their resident assistants. So these are students just like them, typically a little bit older, meaning juniors, sophomores, and juniors. They are there to do exactly that as well, which is listen. And their job is actually to help them solve the problems. They know our philosophies, they know our policies, and they can guide them in the right direction. And finally, the best gift that I think families can give is the gift of confidence. So help them grow that confidence that they can learn, that they can ask for help when they need it, and that they can successfully navigate life on campus. I know that's a lot of words, so please feel free to take photos if you need reminders of some of these. But I think the overall message is to provide them with support and guidance rather than maybe calling us on their behalf, allowing them to learn how to help themselves as well. Some pieces that we get asked often during orientation, especially by my parents and families, relates to how do we keep the students safe. So a couple of big pieces for us is that it is a shared responsibility. We talk to residents when they move in about this. We talk to them during orientation that it is critical that they are paying attention to their surroundings. We can put locks on doors all day. We have cameras. We have a variety of different safety measures in place. But it really does depend on them also being mindful of who they're letting into the buildings, who they're giving access to their rooms or to the gates, and who they're inviting into their living spaces. So we do have controlled building access. This is through their student ID cards. This does mean for my families that you can't surprise them in their room, but you can surprise them and wait downstairs for them to come get you, and they are happy to bring you up. Residence Life staff is available to help 24/7, 365. My team is on call all the time, every day. We are there anytime that you need support or that they need support. And your resident will receive our on-call emergency phone numbers as soon as they move in. And of course, we partner very strongly with the University Police Department. They do patrols at our facilities, especially our apartment complexes. And they are present every step of the way to ensure student safety. They are the first ones on the line if there is anything suspicious going on. And we certainly rely on them, and they rely on us to tell them when something is going on. For emergency procedures, we do ask and require our students to attend their RA's floor meetings. So this is an important one for you to remind your student about when we start talking about move-in and floor meetings. They'll say, oh, I don't have to go to that. We really, really encourage them and strongly advise that they do. This is where they'll learn where tornado shelters are and where various other locations for emergency equipment are. They also learn how we navigate emergencies as a staff. And that really helps them understand, hey, if there is a fire, this is how we get out and get to safety. And we have had a fire on campus before, unfortunately. So we, again, really, really need those students to participate in our safety class. And finally, how students can stay safe on campus. I'm sure University PD will talk a little bit more about this as well. But for residential students, please make sure they are keeping their doors and windows locked. Though it is not often that I don't know that I've ever seen someone scale a balcony before. I'm sure it is possible. So please keeping those doors and windows locked. Being aware again of their surroundings, and then reporting is probably the number one thing that we talk to students about and talk to parents about. Is we don't know what we don't know, right? We're there, we're doing rounds, we are present, but we don't see everything. So we do rely on the residents to report any safety concerns. As I mentioned before, we get to the inevitable roommate conflict. You would be surprised that we see more often than not conflict between two best friends who might have been best friends all their lives. They decided to live together, which is great in theory, sometimes not so great in practice. They may have had tons of sleepovers before, but it's a little bit different when you're actually living with somebody, when their TikToks at 3 a.m. are keeping you up, or when they shower at weird times in the evening, like 10 p.m., and now it's hot and muggy in the room, right? So things look a little bit different when they do actually live together. So some common topics that we ask them to discuss early, and we do roommate agreements, is sleep, work, and study schedules. So making sure that we're not disrupting each other in our living spaces. Guests and visitors is more often than not the primary issue we have. We enjoy seeing people's significant others. It's great. However, we do have some policies, and we ask residents to set boundaries with those on what is appropriate and what's not for their roommates. They are adults or pseudo adults, so we do ask that they handle some of those scenarios themselves. Cleanliness, shared spaces, and noise level, those are our kind of more day-to-day in and out concerns. We do have policies on those as well that we'll talk to the residents about. But the best thing that they can do is talk to their roommate as soon as they get there. Again, when your student calls home frustrated with the roommate, here are some questions that you can ask them to hopefully help them better understand the situation and help them come to a solution on their own. Our RAs are trained in conflict mediation. They are there to resolve roommate conflict. And I will tell parents and families especially, our last resort is moving people. So our first process, our first try is really to get them to sit down together and talk it through. It is not common that I grant move requests because they are too loud at 3 a.m. and we haven't tried to talk to each other first. Now, if bigger issues arise, that's a different story. All right, so a couple of key policies that I just like to mention again to families. Our guest policy is limited specifically for overnight, not so much for daytime visitors. Overnight guests are limited to 3 consecutive nights, 3 times a semester. That does equal 9 nights. You would not believe how technical some of our students get with this. But we do not allow cohabitation or family housing at this time. So again, anyone with a significant other, I think that's fantastic. However, we do limit those overnight stays with our residents. Quiet hours are observed Sunday through Thursday, 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. This is so that we are providing, again, a good study environment for our students. And this also allows us to follow city ordinances on noise level. I will tell you, Res Life is notorious for being loud at the pool. We like to have fun. We like to provide fun for our residents, but we do have to follow those city policies as well. And the quiet hours for the weekend are a little bit more extended till midnight to allow for some of the fun we know happens on those weekends. Courtesy hours are 24 hours a day. What this means is residents are expected to maintain a reasonable volume level at all times. We don't measure this in decibels, but we do measure it in the perception of other students and the perception of that student who's causing the noise and what type of machinery at times they use. I'll give an example that we had a student with a subwoofer in their car. And we had to ask them not to play the music until they got outside the gates because they were waking folks up at 6 a.m. With some of those kind of bass systems in their car. So it does get even as crazy as looking at their car sometimes and saying, hey, this isn't a great environment for community living. And finally, just a few pieces on conduct and accountability. We do hold our residents to a high standard. This is where they live. We want them to be comfortable. We want them to enjoy their time here. But safety and security is our number one priority. If any student at any time risks safety of another or of themselves, we do take that matter very seriously. And we are hopeful that when we talk to our residents when they move in, that they understand this and really get behind the community itself as well. Awesome. And I believe I'm filling in a little bit for dining this evening. So I will touch on specifically meal plans, and I'll mention a couple of our on campus dining locations as I go through. The questions we see a lot about meal plans are policies around meal plans and then the meal plan options themselves. So I'll talk about both. For meal plans, residential students are required to purchase a meal plan. There are very rare exceptions to this. If your student has dietary restrictions of any kind, including a halal or kosher diet, then we do have a dietitian that they can talk with. And our dining services offers opportunities to address any of those concerns. Same with any major allergens like tree nuts, milk, soy, those kinds of things. So students do have an opportunity to discuss that with our dietitian or with dining services dietitian. And we discuss options with them, but again, students are required as residential students to purchase a meal plan. Paid meal plans are automatically loaded onto residential student accounts prior to the start of the semester. This is so that as soon as they move in, they can access those meal plans and utilize them from the very beginning. I do like to give an asterisk mark here of if a meal plan is unpaid, you or the student will be notified that the meal plan remains unpaid. What this typically looks like is they will not be able to use the meal plan, but they will still be charged for it. I like to tell parents and families that because sometimes we've had a case or two where students say, oh, I never used it, I never paid for it. You are still financially responsible for that meal plan regardless. For meal swipes, you'll see this language when we talk about meal plans. For meal swipes, this means that these are meals that students can eat in the MET, which is our cafeteria on campus. And dining dollars can be used at any on-campus retail location and for purchase of goods at the Swoop and Go convenience store. I personally am a frequent flyer at the convenience store. That's where I tend to see a lot of my residents. And it tends to get very packed toward the end of the semester. And the reason for that is unused swipes and dining dollars do not roll over from semester to semester. So if a student has $200 dining dollars still left at the end of the semester, I strongly encourage them to go to the Swoop and Go and maybe buy packs of water or snacks for finals week, whatever they may need during that time, because that does not roll over to the next semester. All right. And here are some of your meal plan options. So these are all of the meal plans that currently exist at UT Tyler. I do want to point out two in particular, and again, this is a great slide to take a photo of for reference. You can also find it on the website if you look up UT Tyler housing and dining rates. But this is the current meal plan structure for this upcoming year. I do like to point out again the two kind of key meal plans for residential students. So the first one is the blue plan. This is the default plan for campus apartments that includes Patriot Village, Liberty Landing, Victory Village, and University Pines. So this is the absolute minimum that a student can purchase. They can go up from there to an orange plan, a star plan, pride plan, or Patriot Premium. They're welcome to go up, they just cannot go down. The same rule applies for those at Ornelas Hall. So the minimum Ornelas Hall plan is the star plan. There is a bit of a price difference in this one. This is because Ornelas Hall does not have kitchens within the units where the students live. Ornelas does have a community kitchen, so that is helpful for students who like to bake or who like to kind of prepare big meals for their friends. But the STAR plan is the minimum plan for Nellis Hall. Again, they can go up, they just cannot go down. Awesome. So what to do next? If you have joined us for an orientation session so far in the summer, then this slide probably looks a little familiar to you. This is kind of our next step guidance for anybody in the summer. If your student has not already completed a housing application or a waiver, please encourage them to do so as quickly as possible. Students are required, especially our freshman incoming students, are required to apply for either housing or apply for the waiver. The waiver is not guaranteed. It is an application for a waiver because we do have a residency requirement for our freshman students. The second step is regularly checking Patriot's email for communication. This particularly applies to your students. Parents, I know it is great when we share information with you, housing in particular, because it's the student's name on the lease, unless you're a guarantor. Because it's the student's name on the contract, we do intentionally communicate with them. So this is one of those great points where you can encourage them to have a bit more confidence in themselves and their ability to balance all of the pieces that go along with being an adult, living in college, or living on a college campus. So in this particular case, we do communicate with students directly through their Patriots email. We send information about their housing assignment. We send information about move-in and what to expect as move-in approaches, and what steps they need to take prior to the move-in date. Again, assignment emails have already started. If your student has not yet received their assignment, I want to say thank you for your continued patience. We do have one individual in this office who creates our assignments. They're working very diligently and very hard to ensure every student is placed in the best space possible. So our priority deadline was May 15th. Anyone who applied or completed their contract or payment before then, or I'm sorry, after then, May has not received their assignment yet, but we are getting very close to being able to communicate another round of assignments. And again, waivers are reviewed on a rolling basis now. So if you are submitting, or if your student is submitting a waiver, please note that that will probably come in a little bit quicker with a result. For students living on campus, now is the time for them to start contacting their roommates if they have not done so already. We strongly encourage this and advise this before they come to campus so that they can talk about shared items, maybe some boundaries just to start with, or things to get to know each other a little bit better. It is never too early to start to pack. I encourage families and students to make packing as straightforward as possible. This means labeling boxes, having totes ready to go, and really limiting yourself to this size to the space of which the student is living. So a good example that I like to use is we had a student arrive with a U-Haul trailer last year. This student was living in a double at Ornelas Hall. I will tell you that about half, if even, of that U-Haul fit into that dorm space. So it is very small, and we encourage students to maximize the space as much as possible, and not having too much going on at one time. We'll talk a little bit about what to bring and what not to bring here in just a moment. But that FAQ page and that list has been shared with our students. And I am stumbling over things. It is 6:30 and I have been talking a lot today. So I appreciate your patience. And finally, most of our students have already been informed of this. So if your student has not mentioned it to you, this is another good point to check in with them about. Our check-in appointments for move-in have opened. They've been open since last week. I will tell you now, most of our morning slots have already been taken. So please make sure that your student is looking at their email, signing up for that check-in time. And if they run into any issues, then contacting us as quickly as possible. Finally, I would not be me and an alumni of this university unless, if I didn't say, please encourage your students to get involved on campus. It really starts from the very beginning, from move-in day. They'll have a great opportunity to meet some student organizations and some other departments after move-in. during an event called Swoop Station, which will again be the evening of move-in. So that will be an exciting opportunity for them to really jumpstart that process. All right, so this is another great one to take a photo of, to write down somewhere. I am going to touch more on what not to bring right now than I will on what to bring. There's a couple of key items that we tend to see families struggle with more on move-in day that I want to make sure you all are aware of. So we do not allow any flammables of any kind. That includes plug-in possibilities. So candles, candle warmers, including the lamp-shaped ones, we do not allow those. Wax melts or oil-based air fresheners, so any essential oil diffusers are also not allowed. We do not allow any lava lamps, neon signs, oil lamps, or torch lamps. Yes, I have seen somebody try to come with an oil lamp. Though very cool, we do not allow those either. I'm going to skip a few and go to mounting and hardware. We do not allow command strips or command products, including the adhesive hooks. We also don't allow screws, staples, wall anchors, or nails longer than 1 inch. I know that is limiting. However, what we want to do is reduce the ability for anyone to damage walls that cost money, and students are found financially responsible if it is because of a command hook. Screws, the risk there is the piping in the walls. We don't want anybody to put a screw in the wall, hit a pipe, and then now are responsible for the flooding of any of our buildings. I promise that is also not a pretty ticket to look at. We also do not allow TV mounts, dartboards, or extension cords. Extension cords is kind of an odd one, but it groups in with the TVs. So please keep that in mind as you are continuing to help your student find the best options for bringing things to campus. The other additional miscellaneous items that I like to touch on include any private door locks. This does include the safety bars that go from the door handle to the floor. And we also do not allow additional deadbolts to be added to doors. This is for fire and health safety. If there is an emergency of any kind in any unit, we have to have the ability to get in that unit. First responders have to be able to get in there, and we really need to act quickly if there is an emergency. So they have quite the safety measure, especially with the electronic pads and keys. We do have reinforced strike plates. So those things are in place. We just don't allow the additional safety measures from the private door locks. Another piece that I like to mention outright to families is we do not allow any type of electronic transient devices to be inside of the units. This does include electric scooters. So we do not allow electric scooters to go inside of our buildings. At this time, we do not have exterior charging stations for these particular devices. So my advice is for students to leave it at home. If a student does bring that into the unit, we do consider that a safety hazard and a safety concern. So one of two things will happen. We'll ask them to take it home, or at the very least, take it outside and tie it to one of our bike racks, or we will confiscate it if it is a repeat offense. Because again, if you have never seen a video of one of these exploding, it is rather terrifying, and we certainly do not want that to happen. So it is a fire marshal regulation more so than it is one of ours. And I'm recognizing time, so I will speed through this last couple of slides. So I do want to reiterate Patriots Welcome Weekend. This is our big move-in weekend for the semester. So move-in day, especially for our freshman students, but this is for everybody this year, is Friday, August 21st. And more details have started to roll out via email to our students. We've already talked to them about signing up for time slots and being prepared for that move-in day. We will send additional information for each facility as we get closer to move-in. Particularly for students living at Ornelas Hall, these details get very, very tedious. We do have a very particular traffic flow on move-in day for that facility, so please be on the lookout. And I certainly have to shout out our Residence Life Block Party. It's our first annual block party. We're very, very excited to bring this event to our students. It is exclusively for our students. So parents and families, we certainly enjoy you and want you to be here for this experience. But block party is going to be the evening of Saturday, the 22nd. And this is when we really encourage our students to come and be on their own and get to know some folks around campus. And yes, last year we did have slip and slides. It was quite a lot of fun. All right, and as promised, this is my last slide of the evening. So just a contact page for you. Anytime you need anything from housing, we are available. Now, if you send us an email, that is 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Our central office does follow those standard business hours. For emergency response, we provide those phone numbers to our students upon move-in, so they will be prepared and be able to contact us as soon as they are here. If you have any questions about student development activities, or if you want to know more about the measurement of your student space, please email reslife, R-E-S life, at uttyler.edu, and we're happy to answer. That is it for me, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much, McKenna. I know that this is an area parents and family members often have a lot of questions about. So it is A-okay. You covered everything in both residence life and housing and dining. As far as I'm concerned, you stayed within your allotted time. So A+ for that. I did see a couple of questions come through on the Q&A section that are housing specific. So McKenna, if you want to take a look at those, feel free to chat back with the response. That way, if someone else has the same question, they can see what that response is. And if you are now brewing other questions that you want to ask McKenna, feel free to drop those in the chat or the Q&A box too. But we will keep things trucking along. And up next, I would like to introduce to you Assistant Chief of Police, Brad Standerfer, who's going to speak on behalf of parking.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brad Standerfer. I'm the Assistant Chief of Police here at the University of Texas at Tyler. I'm thankful that we have a few moments to talk about kind of the police department and parking as well. Give me a second to get this fired up here. So here at the police department, we are a 24-hour day, 7-day a week operation. We have sworn police officers that are licensed underneath the University of Texas System Police. So that means that we're a part of a 700 sworn police department for UT System. And then here at UT Tyler, we're composed of approximately now approaching 29 sworn officers, as well as 20 security guards that are unarmed and unlicensed, and then our own dispatch center as well. This is probably the most important slide of the night. I would highly encourage that you take a photograph of it, save it, do something, because at some point during your time here at UT Tyler, you are going to need to be able to get in contact with us. We have a physical location, but that phone number, the 903-566-7300, is going to be the best way to get in contact with us. And again, that number is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's someone there to take what you need. That email is not an immediate response. So if you do have an emergency, please do not reach out to us via email. And then obviously our website is available should you need any information regarding annual security report or the crime statistics on campus. Again, we talked about the police officers. They are licensed peace officers. We handle our own patrol functions, traffic enforcement, emergency incidents. You'll see them policing not only the buildings and the physical location of campus, but we're also around the perimeter of campus because we're firm believers that doing traffic stops, enforcing regulations in and around our property ensures that we keep the campus as safe as possible. The security guards or public safety officers are unlicensed. They are not armed, and they provide campus patrols with us. They do jump starts. They do safe walks across campus. They do parking enforcement, so on and so forth. And then, as mentioned, our dispatchers are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to take phone calls for emergencies, non-emergencies, so on and so forth. Now, the big thing there is if you do have a real emergency on campus, you need immediate services, you can't remember the phone number to dispatch, go ahead and call 911. They're going to route those phone calls to us from either the city or the county, wherever you're located at. The biggest thing to staying safe on campus is obviously if you see something, say something. We are 27, 29 sworn officers, and we police 3 different campuses across the East Texas area. And so when you start to think about this, there's 10,000 students and 29 of us. The chances of you all seeing something is much higher than necessarily one of us catching it immediately. So it's important that we work together as a partnership to make sure that we keep safety important on campus. And when it comes to staying safe on campus, McKenna touched on a little bit of this. It all comes down to crimes of opportunity. So we're very fortunate that we have a campus that is relatively safe. We don't have a whole lot of major crimes that occur on campus. And what does occur is what we like to call crimes of opportunity. This means you leave a vehicle unlocked and there's a purse in the back seat. Chances are the purse is going to come up missing. If you leave your vehicle running and the keys are in the ignition, chances are that the car may disappear, right? So if we park in well-lit areas, keep our belongings out of sight, and keep our vehicles secure, the likelihood of being a victim of a crime at UT Tyler is very low. That includes things such as making sure that you work with your roommates in your residence and encourage everyone to keep that front door locked so that people can't just walk inside of your apartment. Make sure doors shut behind you. Don't allow tailgating into the apartment complex through like at Ornelas Hall by allowing somebody inside the building when they shouldn't otherwise be there. Those are all key factors in being a good partnership for safety on campus. We do have to talk about emergency notifications. Obviously, we live in East Texas. The chance of severe weather or something going wrong on campus is high sometimes. And so we use a product called Rave for emergency notifications on campus. We're able to send out text alerts, emails. We're able to do an exterior horn system as well as the website. And all of these are tools used to communicate emergencies to students. So if there's a gas leak on campus or there's a weather delay that's going to cause campus to close or tornado warning, we're going to utilize these systems to communicate to students. We test these systems every month. So it's important that if your student is not receiving these emergency messages via text, that they reach out to the police department, specifically emergency management, to try to figure out why they're not receiving those. Oftentimes it's because a phone number was entered incorrectly into their student account, or they labeled it as a home phone instead of a cellular device. We also have an application called Rave Guardian. We're trying to really push this out to all of our students. It puts safety into your own hands. It allows you to set safety timers and tips, set guardians, et cetera, from the application. And we'll talk about mainly the safety timer and send a tip. So if you're walking across campus and you think it's going to take you 5 minutes to get to your vehicle in the parking lot, you set this timer for 5 minutes. And if it counts down and goes off before you get to your vehicle, you forget to turn it off, or it just never gets turned off, it's going to send an alert to dispatch, and it's going to send us a notification. It pops up on our computer. If you've allowed the sharing of your location on your cellular device, it'll show us your location, give us a phone number, as well as your name. And so it allows us to dispatch officers immediately to you. It allows us to contact you. And then also it allows us to kind of get a little more information about you while they're on the way. Additionally, that send a tip function is kind of like a direct text to dispatch. So you're able to text dispatch back and forth, having a two-way conversation. So if you're in a particular incident where you're in an apartment, you're with somebody that maybe you're not comfortable calling 911 or you feel unsafe, you're able to text dispatch, send photographs, and have that conversation where you're able to get someone to you, get you to a safe place, and do so without alerting the person that's in the room with you. Real quick, this is just kind of what the back office looks like. So when you message us or when you call us, it does ping your location if you've allowed that to be activated, and gives us basic information that you have inputted into the system so that we can get in contact with you should we need to. We have emergency blue light phones on campus. We have 60 something total. They're a direct phone line to dispatch. There's a little red button, you push it, and it's going to call dispatch. The caller ID that dispatch receives is actually the physical location that's on the plaque that is also visible on the emergency blue light tower. And so we know the location that you're at. You're able to provide that location to us. And for some reason, if you're unable to communicate to dispatch because of a malfunction, just rest assured knowing that as long as you've heard that dial tone go off and someone on the other end say hello, that there is a person coming to your location, regardless of whether we're able to speak to you or not. We do offer a safe walk program. So if it's late at night and you're not comfortable walking across campus, we will walk with you to your dormitory or to your vehicle. That's not a problem. And we encourage you to utilize this program. We want to make sure that everyone feels safe as they're traversing campus. Real quick, we do need to discuss active shooter protocol. We follow run, hide, fight here at the university, simple because it is easy to understand and it allows you to make your own decisions. You all may have heard it as avoid, deny, defend, or some other variation. But simply put, if you're in a room and there's an exit door that goes to the outside and you're able to quickly get away, run. Get out of the way, get out of the building, get as far away as possible, and get to a safe place, call 911. If you're not able to run out of the building because you hear gunshots from a hallway and there is no exit door, you want to barricade yourself inside the room you're in, turn the lights off, lock the doors, and get out of sight. you want to hide. And we say that because statistics have shown time and time again that if you are behind a locked door or a barricaded door, the chances of being injured or killed are much lower than if you run into a hallway. And in fact, during the Sandy Hook Commission, when they did the study after that incident, it was determined that there has not been a single person died that has been behind a locked door. So it's important that you understand that even barricading yourself inside of a room can be the best choice depending on the circumstances. And then last but not least, obviously, if you're hiding in a room where you get confronted by the attacker, we encourage you to fight back. You need to use improvised weapons or anything you can to fight back against the aggressor because at the end of the day, a group of people working together fighting against a single person is going to have a better outcome than doing nothing at all. Campus carry is allowed on campus. You must be 21 years of age or older. It has to be concealed at all times, and you have to be cognizant of all the exclusion zones that we do have. And then ultimately parking, which I know is what everyone's here to listen about. It's really not this bad. This is not our campus. This is one of the other campuses you thought about going to. So real quick, the very easy part of this. If you live in Patriot Village, Liberty Landing, or University Pines, you receive a residential permit. Okay. You do have to purchase these permits. The residential permit allows you to park inside of your housing facility Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Okay. After hours and on weekends, you're able to park on the main campus. But Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, you are limited to your residential facility due to the proximity of that location to campus. If you live in Victory Village or Nellis Hall, you do receive a commuter permit. Victory Village receives one based upon the fact that they're so far in distance away from campus, and Ornelas Hall receives a commuter permit because they're on the physical campus and they do not have a dedicated parking lot. The fee is $112.50. That covers the entire year, fall, spring, summer. It's from September 1st to August 31st. I will say the biggest issues we have every year and the most frustration we get from our students is because they are getting citations for not purchasing a parking permit. Simply put, if you purchase a parking permit, you're going to be a lot easier and have a much better experience than if you do not. We utilize a system that is based on your license plate now. So it's a digital system. You don't have to have a hang tag. Your license plate is your permit. So once you purchase your permit, your license plate's in the system, you're good to go. You can park on campus in the designated areas that you were allowed. You can add multiple vehicles. So, like if you have a car and you're borrowing your parents' vehicle for the weekend, you can add their vehicle so that you still are eligible to park on campus. If you have family or visitors coming to campus, they're able to log into the parking portal as a guest account and create a guest permit for the time that they're here. Now, we do keep track of guest permits, so don't think that you can kind of get around the system by doing that. If there are specific questions about parking, you can email parking@uttyler.edu or call us at the 565-5840 phone number. So things to remember about parking, if you don't want to get citations, there's three big ones that I like to say. Buy a permit. It's a lot cheaper than trying to beat the system. You're not going to be able to. Two, don't park in these reserved parking spots. Those rates have increased significantly for staff this year and are going to be $500 to park for a year. They do call us if there is someone parked in their spots when they're not supposed to be, every single time. And so that's a guaranteed way to get a citation. And then last but not least, please don't park in handicap parking unless you have a handicap placard or a veteran that has the proper parking handicap parking sign on their license plate or a placard. The reason for this is because there are people that need those spaces, that rely on those spaces. We receive complaints about handicap spots regularly not being open or somebody parked in them that shouldn't be. So you're ultimately guaranteed to get a citation, and that's $270 that you don't need to spend or donate towards the university for parking in that spot. So those are the big ones for parking related. Get your permit. It's easy. It takes 5 minutes online. Permits go on sale August 5th. Wait until then to get a permit. But then as soon as you buy that for the upcoming year, you'll be good to go and there shouldn't be any issues. We also encourage biking on campus. The HPC has a bike loaning program where you can go borrow a bicycle for the semester, ride it back and forth to campus. So there are varying options. Again, here's the parking information, the contact. Log into your parking portal, make sure you can get it. If there's any questions after August 5th, please reach out to us. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Brad. As always, very important information that our parents and families need to know to help support their students. So we appreciate you. If there's any questions regarding parking or campus safety, please feel free to drop those into the chat or the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and Brad will take a look at those and answer. And to round us off for the night, I would like to introduce to you Andrew Barnson on behalf of the One Stop Service Center. Take it away, Andrew.
Hey everybody, I'm glad to be able to have you guys with us today. What I would like to do first and foremost is tell you a little bit about myself and what our office does. And if you have been to orientation and you have seen or heard some of this, I apologize. But we also will open this to just a general conversation. There's not so many people here that I don't think that we can't just ask and answer questions that might be interesting to you. Um, First, my name is Andrew Barnson. I'm the Director of Enrollment Services. There's a handful of programs that go in and under my area, but the one that everybody knows us for and knows me for is the One Stop. What makes a One Stop an idea that's worth talking about is that at the University of Texas at Tyler, we like to make sure that our students have what we call a seamless experience or an integrated experience, or to put it very simply, we just want to make sure everybody has as easy a time as possible. Almost every single person who you've heard from at UT Tyler has a degree or has had many degrees from UT Tyler. And so a lot of us are speaking from the heart of having been a student, and we know what it was like to get our own degrees. We know what we wish we had or had experienced as students, and we try every day to be able to apply that to the experience for our students here on this campus. Um, our One Stop is a unique thing that is actually a standout benchmark for the state of Texas. Essentially, what we've done is we've boiled down the majority of high complexity student services and put them in one location with staff members who are trained in all areas and all offices, so that when your students or you guys have any questions about basically anything, you can call and talk to the University of Texas at Tyler instead of just talking to an office or being confused. So what that means, well, instead of having to go talk to some different office about your bill, or and then a different office about a financial aid, or a different office about which courses you need to enroll in, or just being confused about where to go or who to talk to, instead you come to the One Stop. And you'll get to talk to one of probably three people there, John, Marissa, Bree, maybe some of our student workers, and they'll be able to answer for you, what is your bill? Let me talk to you about your financial aid. Let's talk about courses. Let's get you enrolled in those classes. I'll put you in them myself. And then, oh, what other questions do you have? Let's get you those questions answered. If we don't know the answer, we know who does, and we'll get you connected with that person. So this is a concept that sounds like so simple, but it is a stark contrast to what a lot of universities and institutions do, where they might ping pong you back and forth. And if any of you guys in this room have had a degree and you were at an institution that maybe had all this big urban campus sprawl and some things are over here and over here, you might be able to relate. So what we want to do is like make sure that that's an experience that our students here at UT Tyler don't have to contend with. You just go to one place on campus, one phone number, one location, and talk to one office, and we will do our best to make sure that every question is answered. Now, to our benefit, every single person in my office has been working there until very recently, a minimum of 7 years, 10 years, 14 years. And so there's been a lot of training dumped into some very specific people. So you really will probably get all questions answered from one person. Um, Usually around this time, what I do is I kind of orient you guys to some of the best resources that are out there, and available to you. So I'm going to share my screen with you now, and from there we'll go and just kind of open the floor and hopefully be able to present to you guys an opportunity to ask questions, because a lot of times we want to just try and make this higher education process feel more accessible and a little bit demystified, because we all know that it can seem like a tall order or just confusing. So let me share my screens with you. Okay. At this point in time, you should be able to, and it looks like I can confirm you are looking at the University of Texas at Tyler's one-stop landing page. I do know that this is the uttyler.edu website that most people see, right? And if you Google UT Tyler, most of the time you might see a bunch of different things. They could take you anywhere, but if you click on UT Tyler, you're going to end up here. These may or may not be helpful to you if you're already in the application process or through the application process. So the resource that I always want to make sure everybody has at their fingertips is uttyler.edu/enroll. That's short for Enrollment Services. That's not just for enrollment. It's actually the one-stops URL. So if we click on uttyler.edu/enroll, where you land is essentially a one-stop for people to get the big questions answered all in one location. I can personally guarantee that almost anything you can think of that is be useful for people getting into higher education or trying to navigate the process can be found within 3 clicks from this website. And I'm going to show you some of those best resources. The first thing that we want to do is highlight right here these 9 tiles. These 9 tiles are going to effectively be the big 9 things that most students want to talk to us about. Whether that's enrolling and it's going to take you to the homepage where you can get enrolled, or if you need to pay your bill, what bill pay options are available to people inside higher education. And you'll see there's 8 different enrollment options or pay options. Student pins, advising, transcripts, shortcuts to how to do the FAFSA and to get it taken care of. What's the real FAFSA website? There you go. That's the real FAFSA website. If you ever pay anybody to do your FAFSA, that was unnecessary. We want to make sure that everybody knows this is a free application for student aid. Okay, so you don't need to pay anybody for the FAFSA. You just need to go and do it yourself. You have your student center here, and of course, big useful enrollment panels. Okay. Now, I don't want to belabor this group with too much conversation if you guys aren't even deeply into the application process. And so I'm going to highlight for you next the big part that kind of gets people mostly confused. It's going to be financial aid. In this financial aid section, you can see it's been boiled down to the big 8, okay? And we do a lot of our conversations about financial aid at the One Stop. Even though we can do almost anything over there, I'd say roughly 70% of the questions have to do with financial aid the majority of the year. The other part of the year is largely enrollment. So this is where you guys can easily see to complete the FAFSA. Why would you want to do that? I'm gonna have a payment or something like that. Well, we always have grants and other types of aids that are available to students, scholarships, things like that. All of them require the FAFSA to get that done at first. If you do the FAFSA, then you'll be able to get that free aid and those kinds of things. You'll never know if you don't try. Then the second thing you want to look at is the financial aid task list items. Those are going to be the things like, please complete this form, prove your identity, finish your tax identification, prove your citizenship, all those different steps. Those different steps fall into this category. We usually communicate those by putting them on the student account, which you can get to by clicking here. But we want to make sure that you know that this is one of the big steps, okay? You'll also be able to get your financial aid awards offer. That's what we call them, awards. And once you've been able to accept which ones you want, which ones you don't want, free awards that cost you nothing, grants, scholarships, we will always auto accept those for you on your behalf for your students. But loans, if you wanted a student loan or private loan, anything like that, you will need to go in there and accept it. Once you do, you will always need to do this step. The government always wants to know that you understand what a loan is, or that your students understand what a loan is, and that you and your student have completed a master promissory note, which is going to be for students if it's a student loan, and for parent plus loan for parents. You have to do this. It says, I promise to pay this loan back no matter what. And that's so true for the government. Processing and verification, that's for our part. And then we put the aid on your guys' account and the student's account. If there's overage, like scholarships, grants, things like that, that are necessary for students to pay for books or to pay rent or buy groceries, those come in the form of refunds. Refunds are overpayments from all the aid stacked in the student's favor. And then we usually deposit those via direct deposit. So that usually is the big steps. Now, if you ever need help with any of these steps, you just call the One Stop. We'll help you out. Okay. The other things I want to point out are some of the persons that you've heard from today. We're talking on behalf of a lot of the different resources we have on campus. I want to make sure that you're able to find them really easy at a glance. So, for example, the police department, you can get to them within 1 click from UT Tyler. Okay. If you need to get your IT password reset, have any questions, that's all 1 click from the One Stops page. If you need to talk to student counseling, we do actually offer free licensed professional counseling for students on this campus. It's very important Most students are going to be between the ages of 18 to 22. And as all the studies show, between the ages of 18 and 22, at least 4 major life events happen, whether that be first loss of a loved one, getting married, moving, all kinds of big life things. But a lot of them times the studies show that at least 4 things happen between the ages of 18 and 22 when they get their degree. So if any of those things ever become challenging or hard to process or anything like that, we want to make sure that our students know that we have licensed professional counselors on this campus to talk to them. We also have study abroad, and we have what I always like to talk about is our tutorial library. The tutorial library is on this page at least 3 times, but to put it really quickly, because I don't want to hold anybody too late, we have this beauty right here. We took our experiences as students, especially our experiences as students at UT Tyler, and said, what do we wish we knew? A lot of times people say, go to college, go to higher education, go get your degree, go, 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 go. Very rarely are those things fully explained. So what we've done here is we've done the part where we explain how to do each thing. On this page back here, I said, go do that, go do this, go do that. And instead of just expecting you to fumble your way through it, we've actually made a library where we have not just PDFs with orange arrow or blue arrows in this case, pictures and arrows showing you exactly how to take care of those things. But we also have staff members who have taken the time and energy to explain everything, usually in 5 minutes or less. And in this format, we walk students through everything, how to do it, who, what, where, when, why, how, what it takes, the why it's important, and we want to make sure that that stuff is really accessible. So most of these tutorials and PDFs are available in at least 1.5 pages, 1 page, or 2 to 5 minute videos. So how to view your holes, how to do your to-do list item that we were just talking about, how to start the fast file, where to go to pay your bill, how to understand award options. One of my associate director
If you need help paying
has loaded up videos for here that explain what are the different awards, why they matter, and how to get it. So it's all very good, strong, bite-sized education. So yeah, that's there. And a lot of people don't know it's there. We want to take that opportunity to show it's there. And if, of course, if you guys ever had any questions, please email us. Say, hey, it would be nice if we knew how to do this so that we can make a video and add that to our list. You can always email us at enroll@uttyler.edu. Again, short for my department, Enrollment Services. That is the one-stop email. No matter what your question is, no matter how confusing, no matter how big or small, just email Enroll. We'll help you out. Okay. We usually have same-day turnaround time. During our biggest time of year when we're trying to enroll 10,000 students at the same time while getting them aid, that might be a 2-day turnaround. That might be a 3-day turnaround for financial aid specifically. But as far as most questions, those will be heard and answered within the same day. Most times of the year when we are not booked solid is half-day turnaround time. So I heavily encourage people to send us anything and everything. The phones, go ahead and give us a call. We're here to help you. Just know that all the telemarketers, spams, robots, everything, they call us too. So there might be a wait. There might be 15 callers ahead of you, even if only 2 of them are real, and we have to answer the phones anyway just to hang up on them and then get to your phone call. So send and forget with Enroll. Of course, you can always come and visit us in person. Let's see here. I think largely that's going to be the big resources I want to make sure that you have at your fingertips. I could talk about the student pin a little bit for you, but really I want to see if there's any people here who have already heard this presentation and thus would just like to spend a little time asking some questions. So um, let's see here if one of our hosts or panelists, any of us are necessary, we can totally make it mic ready and you guys can ask us some questions if you have any questions. Feel free to put it in the chat if you don't have a
So y'all think of any questions that you might have for any of our panelists, including Andrew, who just spoke about the one-stop. Feel free, drop those in the chat. It might be a question that another parent on this webinar has, and so we'd like to get those questions answered. We do hope the information has been useful, and it can be something that you refer back to as we approach the start of the fall semester. If you think of other questions once we've concluded the webinar this evening, you're welcome to email parents@uttyler.edu, and we'll point you in the right direction or we'll get you the answers to your question. And we would, again, just like to thank everyone for taking the time to spend with us this evening. We hope to see you at our next Family Series webinar, which will take place next Tuesday, July the 28th. And on that webinar, we will cover academic success, career success, and library services. And the registration link for that webinar will be sent later this week to your email, so keep an eye out. And we'll hang out for just another couple of minutes. If there's questions, feel free to drop those now. But otherwise, if you have no questions, please enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you next time.
Okay, I see a question. Great, love it.
Perfect.
I want to say, let's see, for those of us using 529 funds, my understanding is that it can take a few weeks to get that funding. I was told that the financial aid is usually not applied until the week prior to classes starting. It seems like those two things are in conflict. Is there a way to find out what we will need from our 529 earlier than that? Okay, so let's see, I'm clicking answer live. Done. Okay, so I hope everybody can hear me. There we go. Let's go ahead and say that that does sound like conflicting information. Largely, the reason that is going to be in conflict is because we've had so many federal and state regulations change over this last year. Some big federal laws were passed, and it's changed a lot of the regulatory and processing things. So while we will ordinarily always strive to have aid applied to classes the week before classes start, most students are going to see that in the version of pending aid that protects them from getting dropped, and then the aid will actually disperse the week of classes. We would ordinarily get as much of that done as possible and as early as we can, but this year the forecast is absolutely looking like the first week of classes. For 529 funding, if we go over to the Pay Now page, you'll see we have a little bit more resources on how to get that taken care of and launch in. We would like, if you have any specific student details you want us to take a look at into, see how far along the process, if it's loaded, where the third-party payment from the account owner is at in process. We can do those things. It's just a matter of emailing Enroll with the details, and we'll get going on that. Now, I just want to say that if it does happen to take longer than the first week of classes or something because of money just changing hands is really hard sometimes, we will always have options to help students stay in classes. We don't drop anybody for non-payment now until the census date, which is like 12 full days into a class equivalent. And even at that, we will usually evaluate students who have done everything right, everything in their power, and we'll put flags on their accounts to make sure that they're safely in their classes and their seats are held, things like that. So like I said, our name of our game is always to make sure things are easy as stress-free as we can. Now, while I actually have everybody here, I wanted to show, since we're not hopping with questions, I'll show these last two resources right here, especially since we're in, sounds like we've got two more people on the line. We've got recommended course sequence in the UT Tyler core curriculum. If either of you attendees are thinking about coming to UT Tyler at this point, not 100% sure about if it's the right place for your student, I wanted to show you exactly how to see which courses transfer over. You might have dual credit coursework, transferring coursework from junior colleges, things like that. You'll know exactly what courses transfer to UT Tyler, so you know exactly what areas you can save money. Additionally, we have recommended course sequences right here. This is something we've worked really hard on recently to get available to people. And if you click on any of those majors, you'll see exactly what is a suggested four-year curriculum. You could see for your first semester, you will take these 4 classes. You can click on it and you can figure out where that class is being offered, things like that. So we wanted to make sure that resource was out there. But largely, if you guys don't have any other questions, thank you for listening to me speak. Thank you for coming and talking to us tonight at UT Tyler, and I appreciate your attendance.